We don't get exchanges like this very often anymore with Jordan Peterson.
You don't have any idea about what you're talking about, and your confidence far exceeds your competence.
After years, he has finally returned to Oxford.
My question is in regards to a comment you made on Joe Rogan's podcast a couple years prior, where you called being transgender a sociological contagion and compared trans people to Satanists.
A student confronts him during the Q&A, and she tries to play the usual game. I think he's gotten weary of this at this point.
To
Satanists?
No, I don't think so.
I've never heard that. This sounds like a vast generalization. Let's see what she's basing this on.
You called being transgender equivalent to participating in satanic rituals in the 1980s. This is a quote.
Sorry, I didn't catch that last part.
When she's speaking through the microphone, it reverberates through the wall, so he needs to hear it not through the mic, so he leans in.
You called being transgender and you compared that to satanic rituals that occurred in daycares in the 1980s.
I see. So
Yes.
that's very different than the proposition that you laid before me.
Right. You do have a
Seriously
history of
different.
intense anti-trans comments, so I wanted to question you on that.
We see this pattern a lot. Let's see if we can identify it here.
In the United States, trans youth have the highest rates of suicide among any demographic.
What defines a demographic? Trans youth versus all other youth?
How do you respond to those who believe your comments have cultivated a climate of hostility against trans people?
You're contributing even more, so you're just contributing.
And contributed to this alarming rise in suicide rates.
Simply by pointing out how the psychology of some of these phenomena work.
Okay, so first of all, I respond to them like I responded to you by pointing out the falsehood of their question. The question you asked me had absolutely nothing to do with what I said, as you well knew.
We'll take a look at what actually was said. So she's referring to this exchange on a Joe Rogan interview. Special thanks to Rattlesnake TV for digging this up.
Teenagers are wired to go along with the crowd. And then if the crowd is offering something pathological, that happens all the time, you get a psychological epidemic.
So he was making an observation on psychological epidemics, how they spread socially.
And I knew that. I told you. I told the Senate this in 2017. And why did I know? Well, I knew the literature. We've tracked psychological epidemics going back 300 years. 300 years. Here's some of them. Multiple personality disorder. It cycles in society. Disappears, then there's one case, then it spreads like mad. Then there's multiple personality disorder everywhere. Teenage girls mostly.
I witnessed this as a teacher where I had one student switch genders 3 times. She had a relationship with a boy who became non-binary and they had a baby. There is a social component to this that is undeniable.
Cutting was a psychological epidemic. Bulimia was a psychological epidemic. Anorexia was a psychological epidemic. The satanic daycare ritual abuse accusations that came out in the 1980s, that was a psychological epidemic.
So that's what she was basing her claim on? To take that and to claim that Jordan Peterson is comparing trans people to satanic worshipers.
You called being transgender equivalent to participating in satanic rituals in the 1980s.
So in the 1980s, there was a big panic where people thought that there were satanic cults abusing children at daycare centers. And the panic spread like wildfire because of media and fear and groupthink.
That fits into the sponsor of today's video, Ground News. Ground News is an app and website that lets you compare perspectives on any topic with full transparency on the political bias, financial incentives, and credibility behind the headlines. Whatever the debate shaping our lives is, the narratives we hear can shape what we think before we've even had a chance to question it. Critical thinking is all about thinking for oneself to navigate the stories and the patterns that make up the world. We see the differences in these stories through the lens of the media. Follow your favorite topics or simply paste any article link in their search bar to find the full coverage on heated issues and swipe between perspectives to form your own opinion based on all the facts. Ground News was designed to give you back control over your thoughts. That's why they created their blind spot feed, one of the most important things to check before trying to have constructive dialogue with people who think differently than you. Go to ground.news/Smith or scan the QR code on the screen. Viewers get the top tier Vantage plan for just $5 a month. So it's a handy tool, how best to navigate those stories. That's where Ground News comes in.
And the rule basically is that if you confuse people about a fundamental element of their identity, then those who are already so confused they're barely hanging on are going to fall prey to that, and all hell's going to break loose. And that's exactly what's happened in the trans in the trans situation.
Two things can be true at once, and it can affect a subset of people. That does not detract from other trans people at all.
You have no idea what you're talking about. The idea that my comments had anything to do with the hypothetical rise in suicide rates among transgender people is preposterous. And there's also no evidence whatsoever that those suicide rates that you're describing are a consequence of any attitude whatsoever towards their hypothetically transgender
Lack
status.
of social.
I think Jordan Peterson's point is like it's vastly more complicated than that. We do not have evidence to justify a claim such as that.
Gender
Lack of
status.
social acceptance, which is definitely cultivated by comments like yours that deny the existence of trans people.
What makes you think you know what you're talking about? Like, I cannot understand for a moment.
Lack of social acceptance is a driving force behind trans youth committing suicide. And I'm asking you to explain why you feel it's appropriate to deny the existence of transgender people.
Show me one place where he has denied the existence of transgender people. It's the same argument against J.K. Rowling because she has concerns around the application under the law.
I can't possibly imagine anybody sequencing a collection of questions more cliched, formulaic, and accusatory than the ones that you just managed.
Therefore, J.K. Rowling questions the existence of trans people. It's like even though she has clearly stated, love who you want, live your best life, I don't care. It's the same argument here.
You don't have any idea about what you're talking about, and your confidence far exceeds your competence.
I'm friends with many transgender individuals.
She has not presented any data to justify what she's saying beyond, I have trans friends and they're not happy.
I also don't know who educated you at this fine university, but they're doing a damn dismal job.
I would like to, Dr. Peterson, I think one of the things at Oxford Union we welcome all kind of questions, and I think I would appreciate if the substance of what she's asking.
There was no substance.
What is the substance? That was just a series of accusations. I mean, the only way to contend with that is to ask her specifically, give me an example of when I've denied the existence of trans people.
You can't answer the substance of a question when you're asked a question with no substance. So
Denying the existence of an entire community and comparing transgender people to participating in a sociological contagion.
So because Jordan Peterson has acknowledged psychological phenomena spreading socially, that leads to your claim that he's denying the existence of trans people. That's literally the logic. She has just clarified it here.
they are participating in a sociological contagion, obviously. Why in the world do you think there's been an explosion in prevalence with regards to transgender identification among juvenile women? Why do you think that? Do you know that that's the pattern of social contagions for the last 350 years? Do you know it's always juvenile women? It was eating disorders, it was cutting, it was the eating disorders were anorexia and bulimia. In Freud's time, it was hysteria.
So I take a lot of issue with you pretending to care about women as an avenue for perpetuating hate towards minority groups.
If he has said anything here that is incorrect, please point it out in the comments. But notice she cannot do that. So she attacks the frame, his motivation. You're pretending to care about women because you're acknowledging these psychological patterns.
You did this earlier in your conversation with the president, and you're doing it once more. But
You really are something.
thank you.
There's a clear game being played. The only way to combat that game is to get more, to go a level deeper by asking questions. And that's where you can find that there is no foundation.
An accusation of hate, particularly one that's formulated in that manner, that begins with the proposition that I was comparing transgender people to those who participated in satanic rituals, which is not at all what I said or meant on the Joe Rogan special, is not a question with substance, and that's for sure. It's not a question at all. It's a form of moralizing Pharisaism that's designed to reputation savage the target of the question in precisely the manner that female personalities characterized by antisocial bullying are particularly proficient at. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that question.